Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is David and you are watching David Owen Creates. I came up with this idea to use 7 everyday Dollar Tree items and transform them into something unique and beautiful, either to display them as home decor or as a functional piece. Now, here is the twist. I asked 4 other YouTubers to join me in this challenge using the same items from Dollar Tree. But since every Dollar Tree store carries different items, we tried to select things that were closest to the item. I'm going to go ahead and list the items that we picked. We picked pretty basic items. That way you guys could have the chance to actually find these items in your Dollar Tree store, and then you can create some of these projects. Follow along and watch my video to the end to find out whose video you're supposed to go to next. Now let's hop into the first project. For this first project, you're going to want to grab a pack of clothespins. I got the 36 count. We are not going to be using all of them, just so you know. The first thing you're going to do is start taking them off, and then we're going to actually pry these apart. It's pretty simple. You just twist it, and then we're going to actually keep the metal pieces. I'm going to use them for a different project later on, but not in this video. If you're new to my channel and came from one of the other channels in this collaboration, I'd like to say hello and welcome, and I'd love for you to join my YouTube family and follow along for more DIY crafts, lifestyle, and home decor hacks. Now I'm taking my hot glue gun. I'm going to be hot gluing 2 pieces together, back to back, just like this. I'm going to repeat this 8 times. However, I actually only end up using 6 of these pieces, so just make 6 of them. When I first started this, I honestly just started gluing things together and was like, what am I going to make? But as you saw in the beginning, I decided to make a little rocking chair. This part was probably the simplest. I glued the backing of the chair together just by laying 7 in a row, and then I had glued 1 on top and 1 on bottom. I did the same thing with the base of the chair, like where you would sit down. So right now, this is actually the base. Now we're moving on to creating the little part where it would rock, I guess. The rocker. I don't know what it's called. So anyways, we're actually just putting 2 of them facing down, and then we're going to glue another one face down on top of those. I hope that makes sense. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. I'm kind of showing you at a slight angle so you can see. But this is going to create that curved shape. And I'm just kind of testing it out, seeing if it works. And it does, so moving on. I made another one just like it. They look like little skis. Then we're going to be actually gluing this part down. But first we need to glue the post so that we have somewhere for the seat to sit onto. So we're going to take those pieces we made in the beginning and we're going to actually glue them facing down. So like the head part, I'll call it the head part, facing down, and then the tail part facing up. You guys will see what I mean in a second. But I am gluing them right before and after that other piece that was in the middle on the top of the rocker. I don't know if that makes sense. So anyways, then I took the base of the seat and I pushed it in right in between these little grooves. It actually fit perfectly onto those pieces. So okay, so now we're going to be moving on to attaching the back part of the chair. And I'm just gluing the bottom portion of the back side of one onto 2 sides so they're facing upwards. Then I went ahead and glued the arm rest of the chair together. And how I did this was I glued into the bottom little groove of the one I just glued on. Then I took another piece, I had glued it facing down right in that groove, and then I took another one of our ones that we made in the beginning. I glued that right on top of this one, making sure that the head part of this one actually lined up perfectly with that front post, and that created this little overhang edge right in the front, creating a cute little arm rest. You guys see what I mean right here? See what I mean? Okay. Alright, now we're going to be gluing on the back of the chair. Now, I could not figure out exactly how I wanted it, and then I finally was like, you know what, this is how it's going to go. So I just glued the 2 sticking up posts right on top of that other piece, just like this. Super simple. I didn't want to make it too hard, and boom. The rocking chair is done, you guys. You could literally leave it like this if you wanted to. You could seal it up, leave it this pretty pine color, you know. But I wanted to take mine a step up. I'm going to actually be painting this with this orange and green. Now you're probably thinking, what? I'm actually going to be mixing it with some water, creating this like caramelized brown tone, going over the entire piece with this color. Then I took some black and mixed it in with this paint, and I went in to all these little cracks and crevices just to give that dirty, aged effect on this piece. After I went over the entire thing with this black color, I was just like, I'm not loving this. So I went in with some white paint. I'm just dry brushing it over the entire piece, giving it this really beautiful whitewashed look. But this does come off very farmhouse, and that is not the look I was going for. So I went in with this antique wax. I've never actually used wax, but I went ahead and just dipped my brush in there, painted the entire chair. And by the way, you actually don't have to add on the little rocking pieces, and you can just make a regular chair. After wiping away the excess wax, I was ready to go and display this. For this next project, I grabbed a book from Dollar Tree. You can pick any book for this project. I recommend getting a thicker book. After removing the book cover sleeve, I'm then going to age these books. Now, an aged book normally has the corners all bent in, so I was just taking it onto the table. I went through and roughed up the pages, and of course we can't forget about the colors, so I just took a brown colored, like a taupey color, and a tan color, and then I put it on a paper towel and I just rubbed it all over. This really instantly like aged that book. I dipped it in water, rubbed it all over the book. If you rub hard enough, some of the pieces of the book cover will actually come off, if that makes sense. I just kept rubbing this color all over the books. Alright, now that I have my aged book, I wanted to go ahead and create this into something useful. So I'm taking my Dollar Tree X-Acto knife and I'm going to be cutting out a large rectangle in the book. Basically, we're going to be cutting out every single page in this book. And in turn, this is going to create a little hole, a little box, if you will, like within the book itself. So I thought this would be really fun. Honestly, though, you guys, this project took me a while to cut every single page out. I started pushing harder and harder so I could cut through like 3-4 pages at a time. And once I was done with that page, I would then flip it upwards and took some clips and clipped it to the book cover just to hold it in place. This is what it should look like when it's done. Now I did save all the pages from this book and they're in a pile right over here. I'm actually just going to put these together in a nice little, compact it and tie a string around it and call it a day. I'm just showing you guys you can put literally whatever you want to put in this book. I think it is amazing. I absolutely recommend making it if you are able to. If not, I do know that Michaels sells something pretty similar to this item, but it's obviously not $1. this next project. I picked up a platter from Dollar Tree. So I picked up some of this nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I got a bunch of it, and I also picked up a box of these tumbling tower blocks. They carry this size, which again is $1. If your Dollar Tree carries this size, I highly recommend picking this one up. You can see it is double in size. This one had 32 blocks and this one had 72. So if you can get a hold of this size, you definitely need this pack. And I'm gonna just literally glue the rope down onto our platter. I'm gonna glue it on itself, overlap it just a little bit. It's gonna go right over the center so that it looks nice and clean when we're all done. Just like that. See, I'm kind of like pressing the glue, like pulling it and pushing it on itself. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start a new piece. And then instead of like just lining up right here, I'm actually gonna start back a little bit, like right here. Try and flatten this out, and we're gonna glue over it. And then push this down like this and glue over this piece. That way it pushes that down and flattens it. And then we'll go over the other piece, this piece, when we go back around. So right here's the piece. We'll go straight over it like that. I just think that helps kind of blend in the pieces, and you could totally use whatever type of rope. So as you can see, as I'm getting a little bit out on the edge, this side over here is starting to get a little bit closer to the edge than this side. I'm gonna try to widen this side out a little bit by just like loosely putting it next to, then as I get around the corner right here, I can get a little bit tighter and pull the rope in a bit more. Now you can see if I pull tighter over here, we're going to start to get like even again because we kind of messed up in this area, but that's okay. You can barely even see like where I added a new piece of rope, which is in this section here. I'm just going to do this all the way around until I reach the outer edge. I'm not going to be gluing onto these little things right here, so I'm just going to leave those because we will be gluing these pieces. Now that that is completed, then we're going to go ahead and take our little wooden blocks and then glue them around just where this piece is here. I'm going to start with this edge over here. So just put a little bit of hot glue on the bottom of one of your pieces, and then you're going to just stick it right here. And if you want for it to be more secure, put some here and on the face like this. Then you can actually put it just like this and press down a little bit, and that will actually secure it to the rope as well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and repeat this, and then making sure that my pieces are sticking straight up. And I'm gonna go ahead and just repeat this all the way around. There's just a little bit of a gap right here, but it's no big deal. So I went ahead and finished the rest off camera. Obviously, this is what our tray is looking like, and the side. But it's very big. I did have a spot here where you could see like the words of the tumbler game, but if you put that to the back of the wall or something, or you could just, you know, try that one out and put a different one in. And this could go with so many different styles, I feel like, because it has like the rope and the wood. This could be very nautical. This could be modern. This could be boho, maybe farmhouse, if you maybe whitewashed the pieces on the outside. Yeah, I really like this. This could go in your bathroom and display all your little, just to kind of decorate your little bathroom area. So I'm gonna go ahead and style this and show you what I end up doing with it. Moving on to the next project, we're going to be taking one of these baby blankets and folding it in half, and then folding it in half again. Make sure we line up those corners, and then we're going to fold the half over one more time, and then we're going to cut off this edge right here so it mimics the same shape as the other side. Then we can unfold it and make sure we fold it back in half so we have the two sides facing together. We're going to cut this down the middle. That way we have two separate pieces. Then we're going to take our scissors, our shears, and cut the fabric. We're cutting into both the front and the back, like both pieces of fabric. We're going to be cutting slits all the way around. Now, if you guys remember those blankets that they used to make with the fleece and you'd tie them together, it's kind of similar to what we're doing here. Now, once you're done, we're gonna go back through and cut off all the little corners so it has this shape. I was going for more of a rounded shape, but honestly, just cut those corners off so it looks like this. Then, once we have that part done, we can actually fold these in half and cut a slit down the middle, and that will create a hole. So, fold it in half, cut your little slit, then you have a hole. We're doing this to both pieces of fabric. Once you're done with the whole thing, we're going to be attaching the two pieces of fabric together. Rather than tying them, we're going to be taking one set of our pieces and then pull it through the hole of both pieces. Then we'll take the next one and pull it through that hole. So, and then the piece you just pulled through becomes the new piece. You just take the next one, put it through that one, pull it down, and then you have a new piece. Then you take the next one, put it through that piece. It's a repetitive process. And then right before we hit the end, we're gonna stuff this thing and make a pillow. Yes, a pillow from a fleece blanket. So I just took any old stuffing I had laying around, stuffed this pillow, then I took my end pieces and I put them together like this, just basically doing the same thing we were doing. Then the very two last pieces, I just went ahead and tucked them in somewhere and then tied them together into a double knot, and then I pushed the end pieces inwards, and here is our pillow. Let me know down below if that is something you guys would have made. Let's move on to the next project. So I'm going to be taking this Dollar Tree mat. It's like a floor mat. And we're going to be taking our Dollar Tree X-Acto knife and a metal ruler. I'm going to use a pen to sketch out exactly where the middle is. And we're doing this in 4 sections. It should be 4 different rectangles when you're done. Now, I don't want to give like precise measurements because every floor mat might be different at Dollar Tree, but mine came out to 8 inches by 12 inches long. So again, here I'm literally just taking the X-Acto knife and tracing over the pen, and I use a metal ruler, that way I don't cut through the like a plastic ruler. You might have to score over it like a couple times before it breaks apart. Now, we're going to be piecing these together, and at first I was like, I don't really know how. So I took a piece of cardboard I had laying out in my recycle bin. I took my ruler and I found the center point of the cardboard, and I measured out 14 inches by 14 inches. That way I would have plenty of room if I messed up. Then on each side I measured about 1 inch inwards, and I took my X-Acto knife and I scored the cardboard. Just one score will do. And then you're able to fold the edge over. I went ahead and repeated this on all sides, and then I cut out the corners. Once you're done with that, you're able to actually glue the piece of floor mat onto the flap of cardboard. I am using super glue from Dollar Tree as well as hot glue. My hot glue is also from Dollar Tree, by the way. This will work just fine for this project. Go ahead and push this down and repeat this on all 4 sides. Once you're done, we're going to be using a piece of trim. I have this out in my garage. This piece of trim is like that cheaper trim. It's plastic. So I was actually able to mark it with a pen and use the X-Acto knife to score it a bunch of times. And then I cracked it and it split right where I wanted it to. And I cleaned up the edge so it looks a bit nicer. And then once I made sure that it perfectly fit, I took the same super glue and some hot glue, and I glued this in place right on the corner. This actually attached both of the sides together. And then once I was done with all 4 pieces, I moved on and I got these screw posts from Hobby Lobby for $3.99. This is what they look like. One side is smooth, and then the other actually has a little area where like a flathead screwdriver would go. And then I took this piece of belt I had in my craft supplies. You can use any belt. I got this actually from Goodwill, I think. I cut it to size. I shaped the edge so it looked a little bit more rounded, like a handle would look, you know? And then I cut holes into the belt on each side with the X-Acto knife, made sure that the screw post fit in there, and it did. And then I went ahead and attached this to the storage tote. But first I had to mark my holes, cut it out with the X-Acto knife. Then I pushed in with the smooth side in the belt. Then I took the other part, and this actually just screws in. I used my fingers to just screw this in as tight as it could go. Voila, we have a handle. So now I wanted to address the inside of our little storage box. I'm gonna clean it up with some fabric. You can use a scrap paper, whatever you want to put in the inside, or you can leave it the way it is. So I just cut up some fabric, put the hot glue in the inside, laid my fabric down, and then I pulled the fabric over in on itself like this. That way it created a really nice edge. I just repeated this on each side. I kind of treated it a little bit differently, but it all started the same with the hot glue, the fabric down, and then folding it in over itself. Put the hot glue down at the bottom just to secure it towards the bottom, and I repeated this on the opposite side. Then I went ahead and took my longer piece of fabric, did the same thing, and just stretched that over these two side pieces. And then I did the bottom, and then I did the top. I just had to put the hot glue on first, fold in the edge, and then press it down on two. And then here we are. I secured this as well, so this fabric was not going anywhere, and I think it looks really nice. I'm in love with this. You could really put this anywhere you wanted to, and just remember that this would be great for storing like lightweight items such as yarn or any other lightweight craft item or any other items that maybe you have. I wouldn't store anything super heavy in this just because you gotta remember we used a pretty thin piece of cardboard at the bottom, so I'm not sure how much it would actually hold if you were to pick it up. But for sliding purposes, I think it would be okay because this is not going anywhere if you tug on it. I definitely would recommend creating this. I love this piece so much. Alright, you've made it to the last project of the video, so I'm going to be taking this wreath form. I dipped it in water for several hours and then took it out, and then I was able to pry it apart. So my original idea with the wreath was I was going to weave the cane or the rattan around a Dollar Tree glass, but it just didn't work. Then I moved on to a different project. I wrapped it around this paper towel roll. I was going to make napkin ring holders. I did these like cute X's, right? But when I went to pull off the piece, it just, yeah, that happened. So they didn't work out either. I'm pretty sure if I like put Mod Podge or something all over this, they probably would have stayed, but they didn't. So I'm going to be actually just cutting them to pieces and gluing them on these pots. After I measured and cut one off, I was able to use that as a guide and go ahead and cut several pieces. And then I just hot glued the pieces onto the pot. I went with a very simple pattern at first. Really like the way this one turned out. I just hot glued 8 pieces on, evenly spaced. Then I took a longer piece and I hot glued that over those pieces on the edge just to kind of clean up the pieces and make it look a little bit more professional. I thought this pot turned out so cute, so I wanted to make another one that complemented this one. So this is what I ended up doing. I just glued on the pieces. I did like front and then back, like an alternating pattern to give this striped look. Let me know in the comments which one is your favorite, and here they are. Click the link below to hop onto the next video to see what else you can create with these 7 everyday Dollar Tree items. Thanks for watching!